hook roads blocked by burning buses, tourists sheltering inside hotels, soldiers trading fire with cartel gunmen in broad daylight. Over the past few days, Mexico has been hit by one of the largest waves of cartel violence in its modern history, triggered by the death of one man, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, known as El Mencho, leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. In this video, we break down what just happened in Mexico, why it matters, and what could come next. What just happened? On Sunday, Mexican Special Forces launched an operation in the western state of Jalisco. Their target was El Mencho, Mexico's most wanted cartel boss and leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, often shortened to CJNG. During the raid, he was critically wounded in a firefight with the military and later died while being transported to Mexico City. His death set off an immediate and coordinated backlash across the country. Wave of violence. Within hours, cartel gunmen began blocking major roads, seizing buses, and setting vehicles and businesses on fire in multiple Mexican states. Traffic ground to a halt as burning buses and lorries were used as barricades on highways. In several cities, gunmen laid spikes and nails on the roads to damage police and military vehicles, slowing down any response. The message was clear. CJNG wanted the country, and the world, to know that the organization was still powerful, even without its top boss. Impact on daily life. The violence quickly spilled into everyday life. Flights were canceled or diverted at key airports, and tourists in destinations such as Puerto Vallarta were told to stay indoors as smoke rose from burning vehicles nearby. Businesses closed their doors, public transport was disrupted, and thousands of people were forced to shelter at home or in hotels. The Mexican government responded by deploying thousands of soldiers and National Guard troops to try to restore order and reopen key routes. Who was El Mencho? To understand why this matters so much, we need to look at who El Mencho was. Under his leadership, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel rose from relative obscurity to become one of Mexico's most powerful and feared criminal organizations. CJNG built a vast trafficking network, moving cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl across Mexico and into the United States and beyond. Authorities in both Mexico and the U.S. have described it as one of the most dangerous criminal groups in the world. CJNG's rise. The cartel expanded aggressively, pushing into new states and challenging older groups like the Sinaloa cartel. This expansion fueled brutal turf wars in regions such as Jalisco, Michoacán, and Guanajuato, with battles over ports, highways, and border crossings. CJNG also became known for its use of heavily armed hit squads, military-style tactics, and a willingness to confront the Mexican state directly. For years, capturing or killing El Mencho was one of the top priorities for security forces. The violence exploded. So why did the violence explode after his death? Analysts believe CJNG had contingency plans for the arrest or killing of senior leaders. Local cells appear to have activated those plans almost immediately, launching coordinated attacks in different states at roughly the same time. These actions were not random. They were designed to paralyze key roads, challenge the authorities, and send a signal that the cartel remained organized and dangerous even without its figurehead. Terror-style tactics. The tactics used were closer to terror operations than ordinary crime. Burning vehicles were used as roadblocks to shut down cities and highways. Businesses and public transport were targeted to create maximum disruption and fear. In some areas, armed men filmed their actions, showing off convoys, weapons, and fires, knowing these images would spread rapidly online and in the media. The goal was not only to fight the state, but to intimidate the public and remind everyone who holds power on the ground. Leadership vacuum. The big question now is what happens inside CJNG. There is no single, universally recognized successor to El Mencho. Instead, several regional commanders and family members are believed to be competing for influence and control. That kind of leadership vacuum often leads to internal struggles, as rival factions fight over money, routes, and territory. In the short term, That can make the group more unpredictable and can trigger fresh waves of violence.
Rival organizations, especially the Sinaloa cartel, are also watching closely. When a powerful cartel loses its top leader, other groups sometimes move quickly to take over its trafficking routes, port access, and local contacts. That battle does not only play out in Mexico. CJNG has links in Central America and South America, and any change in leadership can ripple through the entire region. A weakening of CJNG in one state may mean a strengthening of its rivals in another. Ordinary people caught in the middle. For ordinary people living in the affected areas, all of this means more uncertainty. Roadblocks and clashes can cut off entire towns, making it hard to work, travel, or even buy food. Extortion can spike as local groups try to raise money or assert control. Communities can find themselves trapped between security forces on one side and criminal groups on the other. Many analysts warn that violence could worsen before any new balance of power is established. Government response. At the same time, the Mexican government faces a difficult choice. On one hand, El Mencho's death is a rare opportunity to weaken CJNG further, while its leadership is divided. On the other, an all-out offensive risks provoking more retaliation and collateral damage. Authorities must try to dismantle the cartel's structure without plunging entire regions into chaos. That is a delicate balance, and past attempts to decapitate cartels have sometimes created more fragmentation and bloodshed instead of stability. Tourism and international concern. Because this wave of violence hit major highways and tourist zones, it quickly became an international story. Tourists were told to stay inside hotels, and some governments issued warnings to travelers, urging them to monitor local news and avoid affected areas. Mexico is also preparing to co-host the 2026 World Cup with the United States and Canada, and the images of burning vehicles and armed roadblocks have raised serious questions about security in host cities and along key transport routes. The U.S. perspective. Across the border, U.S. politicians are using the crisis to renew calls for tougher action against Mexican cartels. Some are pushing to label certain groups as terrorist organizations, which would open the door to a different set of tools and pressures. Others argue for closer cooperation with Mexican authorities, more resources for border security, and stronger efforts against the flow of weapons and cash heading south. Whatever path is chosen, the reality is that demand for drugs in the U.S. is deeply linked to cartel power in Mexico. Looking ahead. The death of El Mencho is one of the biggest blows dealt to a cartel leader in Mexico in recent years, but it does not automatically mean less violence. In the coming weeks and months, we will see whether CJNG fractures, whether rivals move in, and how far the Mexican state is willing and able to push in this new phase of the conflict. For people on the ground, the stakes are not abstract. They involve safety, livelihoods, and the ability to live normal lives without fear. Block 16. Call to action. If you want deeper context on how Mexico's drug war reached this point, and how it connects to global trafficking routes and demand, make sure you subscribe to WarScope. We will continue to follow how the situation in Mexico evolves, and what it means for the wider region. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next briefing.